காலம் வலம் புரியன்ன நற்காதல் அடியவர்க்கு தாளம் வழங்கி தமிழ்மறை இன்னிசையால் தந்த வள்ளல் மூளும் தவநெறி மூட்டிய நாதமுனி கழலே நாளும் தொழுதழுவோம் நமக்கார் நிகர் நானினத்தே நாதமுனி கழலே நாளும் தொழுதழுவோம் தவநெறி மூட்டிய நாதமுனி கழலே நாளும் தொழுதழுவோம் இன்னிசை தந்தவள் மூழு தவநெறி மூட்டிய நாதமுனி கழலே நாளும் தொழுதழுவோம் நமக்கார் நிகர் நானிலத்தே.
Thank you, madam, for this nice piece of on Vedanta Desika, by Vedanta Desika rather. Thank you very much. Now, I take pleasure in welcoming you all to this eventful evening, which has my professor. I take pride in calling him my professor, Dr. Mishra, as the main speaker. The topic he has chosen is the fragments of the foundation, constructing the philosophy of Nathamuni as Pre-Ramanuja Visistadvaita. It is quite interesting and will be useful for researchers. Nathamuni is known as Ubaya Vedanta Pravartakar. He is the founder of Ubaya Vedanta School. Hello? Ubaya Vedanta School, having two streams of scriptures, Sanskrit Vedas and Tamil Vedam. Tamil Vedam is Narayana Divya Prabandham. I think there is some disturbance, I don't know how. He is spending his life and time in tracing the Narayana 4,000 sagas of Alvars who lived only in the experience of Lord Narayana and compiled as one treatise called Holy 4000s, Narayana Divya Prabandham. In fact, he is the man who gave the Danian God, Tiruvayamazhi, Bhaktamridam, Vishwajanam, Sodanam, Sarvartakam, Sarvadhu Vangmayam, Agasura Sankopanishad, Amamyagam, Dravida Veda Sagaram. Nathamuni calls Nammalvar Tiruvayamazhi as equal to Sanskrit Vedas and hence the Ubaya Vedas.
You are not audible, Mr. Prasad.
Yes, sir?
You are not audible.
Not audible.
There
is a disturbance. I myself feel here from here. We'll see. And his important contribution to Sri Vaishnavism is the Arayar Sevai. Earlier it was commenced by Thirumangai Alvar. Earlier it was Thirumangai Alvar, and he only introduced both Pagalpattu and Rapattu. Pagalpattu being for other Prabandhams and Rapattu for Tiruvayamazhi exclusively. And he made the Pakal of all the Alvars into Pasuram. sparkle with Swaram, and he is setting the tunes to all. Like this, his contribution list is endless. To say we are fortunate to have, today we are fortunate to have Dr. Mishra with us, who will talk on how Nathamuni spearheaded the basis for Visistadvaita, and later which was developed into a rich philosophy by Ramanuja and his followers like Sursana Suri, Vedanta Desikar, and Manavala Mamunigal. 1 minute. About now, I am going to give you a small intro to Mr. Mishra. Mishra is a very popular philosopher, but for Visistadvaita student like you, he needs some sort of introduction. He is the visiting professor at the Nalanda International University, and before joining Nalanda, he served as a visiting professor in the School of Humanities and Social Sciences at the IIT Bhubaneswar. And formerly, he also worked as the chairman of the School of Philosophy and Religious Thought, as well as the professor of and HOD of Philosophy Department in the University of Madras. His main area of specialization are Vedanta and Buddhism. To unrelated subject, he is an authority on Buddhism also. He has published more than 50 research papers on all comparative philosophy and authored many research review articles. Yes, the list of his also is like Nathamuni's contribution to Vaishnavism. His contribution to philosophy is endless. So now I request Mr. Mishra ji to talk on the subject. 1 minute. I want Mr. Dayanidhi to inaugurate this meeting. Then that will be followed by
Good evening, one and all present here. It is great pleasure to have a wonderful topic on Visistadvaita, the fragments of foundation constructing the philosophy of Nathamuni, Pre-Ramanuja Visistadvaita. It is one of the very taken research topic. So the topic is itself convey the Vedanta Deshika's shloka in Tattvamukta Kalapa. In Vedanta Deshika says, Drishte apanyutyabhavat animita vishaye laghavasyanurodhat shastre nevavaseye vihati virahite nastikatva prahanat nathopajñam pravrittam bahubirupachitam yamuneya prabandhaihi tratam samyak yatindram akhila tamaha karshanam darshanam naha. இந்த ஸ்லோகம் அதிலே வந்து டாபிக்கோடைய அந்த தலைப்பினுடைய ஒரு சாராம்சத்தை இந்த ஸ்லோகமே நமக்கு சொல்லுகிறது. வேதாந்த சேஸ் நாதமுனி, அதுக்கு முன்னாடி நாதமுனிக்கு முன்னாடி யாருன்னா டங்க, திரமிட, குஹதேவ, பாருச்சி, பிரம்மநந்தி பிரபுத்தயா அப்படின்னு இந்த சுவாமி பாஷ்யகாரா கோட்டட் இன் ஸ்ரீபாஷ்யா. ஸோ அந்த விஷயத்துல வந்து நமக்கு ரொம்ப நிறைய விஷயம் நமக்கு தெரிஞ்சுக்கணும். என்ன அப்படின்னா, நாதமுனியோடைய கிரந்தம் வந்து நியாய தத்துவம் அப்படின்னு சொல்லக்கூடிய கிரந்தம், அப்புறம் யோக ரகசியம், இது ரெண்டுமே வந்து இப்போ நமக்கு கிடைக்காத ஒரு நூல். அதிலே நியாய தத்துவத்துடைய ஃப்ராக்மெண்ட்ஸ் வந்து ஆங்காங்கே வேதாந்த கிரந்தங்களிலே சுவாமி தேசிகனால உல்லேಖனம் பண்ணப்பட்டிருக்கு. The passages or lines has taken by Vedanta Deshika in some சாஸ்திர கிரந்தாஸ். ஸோ அதுலேருந்து வைத்து பார்க்கும் பொழுது இந்த டாபிக் வந்து யாரெல்லாம் விசிஷ்டாத்வைத்தம் படிக்கிறார்களோ, படிக்க விரும்புகிறார்களோ அவர்களுக்கு ரொம்ப ஒரு உபயோகமாக இருக்கக்கூடியதான ஒரு டாபிக். ஏன்னா எப்படி நாதமுனியிலிருந்து ராமானுஜர் வரைக்கும் எப்படி இந்த விசிஷ்டாத்வைத்தமானது வந்து கொண்டிருக்கிறது என்பதை ரொம்ப அழகாக ஒரு விஷயம். அதை பற்றி கிரேட் ப்ரொஃபசர் மிஸ்ரா ஜி அவர்கள் வந்து இன்னைக்கு இதை பற்றி பேசப் போகிறார்கள். அவருக்கு டிபார்ட்மெண்ட் சார்பாக முதலில் நன்றியை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன். மற்றும் ஏனைய பேராசிரியர்கள் எல்லாம் இன்றைக்கு வந்திருக்கிறார்கள். ப்ரொஃபசர் பன்னீர்செல்வம் அவர்கள் மற்றும் கே ஸ்ரீனிவாசன் அவர்கள், டாக்டர் கே அனந்தன் அவர்கள் மற்றும் ஏனைய ஆசிரியர்கள்லாம் வந்திருக்கிறார்கள். ஏன்னா மிஸ்ராஜியோடைய ஒரு வே ஆஃப் டாக் வந்து எல்லாருக்கும் ரொம்ப பிடித்ததாக இருக்கும். அண்ட் வே ஆஃப் இது வந்து அவரை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் அவருக்கு நாதமுனி அப்படின்ற மாதிரி ராகவன் சார் அவரை இந்த விசிஷ்டாத்வைத்த விஷயத்திலே திருப்பி நம்ம எல்லாம் இந்த விஷயத்தை பேசுவதற்காக வந்திருக்கிறார். அவருக்கு முதல்ல இந்த அரங்கத்தின் சார்பாக நன்றியை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன். நன்றி.
Mishra ji to render the speech. Sir, எல்லாருமே கொஞ்சம் மியூட் பண்ணிக்கங்க சார். எல்லாரும் kindly mute your this one, excepting Mishra ji, all others I request you.
Okay. I start today's presentation with a prayer from Yamuna. Twadbhrutya bhrutya paricharaka bhrutya bhrutya bhrutyasya bhrutya itimam smara lokanatha. Lakshminatha samarambham Natha Yamuna madhyama Nrsimhacharya paryantam Bande Guru Parampara. I must also give my salutations to Professor Raghavan and Professor Pannirselvam. So, I have written a verse for Professor Raghavan. I did not know that Professor Pannirselvam will come. Otherwise, I would have written another one. So, Naumyaham Raghavacharya Bahuvidya Samanitam Vedanta Dvayanisnatam Ubhaya Vedanta Srijutam Vaishnavottamam. So, with this, I'll speak for next 30 to 40 minutes on the topic that I have chosen to speak on this occasion. I'm very grateful to Parthasarathi Swami for giving me this opportunity to speak on this great Acharya. On this Acharya who has given the foundation of Vishishtadvaita, so to say, what we are getting today. So, and in doing that, I would show how the foundation that was laid was not also properly brought forward till today. There were breakages. I must apologize for this, saying that after 1990, when 90 or whichever year, I don't remember, when Uttamar Swami passed away, and also the Pratibhaji Bhayankaram Swami passed away, there is no writing, original writing in Vishishtadvaita. This is happening in other systems. Therefore, I say it is a great thing that Dayanidhi Swami and Parthasarathi Swami are doing that, trying to bring the message of great Ramanuja to the generation that we are living in. Very, very less understood, and the message was not given, message was not preached and propagated the manner Ramanuja and Natha envisaged. But they are the ones who put the foundation for philosophy. I will go to my topic. So, friends, Nathamuni was the one who thought that it is not enough that we have a literature in Tamil, such a great literature. It must be brought to the notice of one and all. Professor Panniselvam knows, and Professor Raghavan also knows, we have lot of interaction. I'm very happy that he is there. We will start today's lecture with what happened in Madras University once. And I think I have told about these two. Some of them who know me, they know about this thing, that is what was happened. Those days when Professor Narasimhachari was the head, we had a large number of scholars and such great scholars. I did not know Tamil, understand Tamil, but when I go and sit there, somehow all that they spoke, that came to me. My Dharmabhuta Jnana got widened, broadened to accommodate what all they said. That is how I can say. Once, a very great scholar from Madurai or Srirangam, I don't remember, came and told that in order to become a Vaishnava, one has to do 5 things, all these stages becoming Vaishnava. And the number 1, number 2, all these things he spoke. And at the end of it, they invited questions. And I was there, everybody, the who and who of Madras city, Sri Vaishnavites were there. Like all great scholars were there. He was a very great scholar. He was speaking in Tamil, also in English in between. So I asked, I have a small question to ask and intervention to make. You said in order to become Vaishnava, one has to do certain things. I have serious objection for this particular thing. My objection is this: according to Ramanuja, there is no non-Vaishnava in the world. There is no non-Vaishnava in the whole world, the universe. There is nothing. If you want to see what does Vishnu means for Ramanuja, goes back to Sahasranama, Vishwam Vishnu. You see? I forgot to mention my friend Dr. Anantan and Dr. Srinivasan, also Jagannivasa sir is there, Jagannath Nivasa, all this. My salutation to all of you, the audience today, those who have gathered here, like besides my friend, those whom I know, Professor Panniselvam and others. So that is what my question was. Are there non-Vaishnavas to become Vaishnavas? Professor Narasimhachari was there. He liked the question very much. He was sitting by my side. I told him, where are non-Vaishnavas in the world to become Vaishnavas? You can say that by doing this and that, you can become better Vaishnava. But for Ramanuja, who brought the message of equality to the world, there is no non-Vaishnava. There is nobody who is not a part of this great principle that is called God. God and you is not possible. For Ramanuja, God and no. If God, there is nothing else. Everything comes on Sharira Shariri Bhava. And you know who put the foundation for this philosophy of Ramanuja? It is Nathamuni. Great literature was written in Tamil. Great Rahasya Granthas were written in Tamil. I won't say mysticism. Professor Panniselvam, I wanted to say ours is Rahasya, not upon mysticism. I was giving a lecture few days back. We have a tradition of Rahasya, but not mysticism. Mysticism is for them. You know better than I do. Our friend from Hyderabad has written that mysticism is because those boys stay in the atmosphere of which is full of snow, rain, frost, and like. They don't see each other, therefore they doubt everything. We don't doubt anything. We have aparoksha jnana, and therefore there is no mysticism for us. We are in a tradition of rahasya. And Ramanuja unraveled this rahasya. Who unraveled this first? Who gave the ideas to Ramanuja? Nathamuni. That is what I am going to talk about today. another 40 minutes, 6 o'clock it will be over. In taking forward the tradition of Shruti, that has a tradition of over 5,000 millennia minimum, Sri Ramanuja propagated the philosophy with a concept of divinity, which is experienceable. You know, it is not something which is abhishaya. It is vishaya. Professor Srinivasan is there today. He made it very different from his illustrious predecessor Shankaracharya. How he made, time permits, I'll come back to that. He said, Vedas, there cannot be a principle which is nirbishesha. The first principle, he said, everything must, there is nothing without a guna. Can you show anything without a guna? Shankara is struggling with this. Even in Brahma Sutra Bhashya, the question comes, is it nirbishaya or sabishaya? Is it nirbishaya or sabishaya? That is the question. You know, Nayam ekantena abhishaya, Shankara says. Nayam ekantena abhishaya. It is not totally without an object. Like, if it is not something which is without an object, how can it be experienced? Ramanuja brings it to the filter. It is experienced, reachable, and hence endowed with all auspicious qualities, characteristics. Ramanuja is not the first one to propose such a system of reality. He brings back, as has been clearly seen in his writings, the age-old truths of the Vedas for the easy understanding and uncomplicated practice of the common people. Okay. He clearly mentions the earlier preceptors who have laid the foundation of a system that has furthered by him. He takes it forward. In Sri Vaishnava tradition, we get the names of Shatakopa, Nammalvar. Great. You know, I always feel, you know, there are a few who have tried to bring about, think of this equality and break the hegemony of the sections. Buddha, Shankara, Ramanuja. It comes down till today. There can be 100 names, including those whom you say seculars, rationalists, all come in this tradition. All in this tradition. Bringing equality, making people understand. Ramanuja is one of the greater champions of this. So, he clearly mentions the earlier preceptors, and in Sri Vaishnavism tradition, Sri Vaishnavism, we get the names of Nammalvar. Nammalvar, you know, Nammalvar was not a Brahmin. Nathamuni, Pundarikaksha, Manakkal Nambi, Sri Rama Mishra, Yamuna as the precursors of Sri Ramanuja. Except among them, barring Nammalvar, who is the most celebrated saint of the Nalayana Divya Prabandha tradition, I would put it. Okay. Like it was a Nathamuni who was perhaps the first to give a philosophical foundation to the whole tradition. In doing so, he took to Sanskrit as the language of communication and logic as the means for justifying the tenets that has been coming down till his times in the celebrated songs of the Tamil saints and alvars, who did not have the need to go beyond the basic requirements of a religion to give devotion as the means to attain liberation from the empirical suffering. That is what he is doing. What is he doing? It must be in Sanskrit. Why it should be in Sanskrit? Why Shankara? No writing of Shankara is available in any other language. He was a Dravida. He says, I am a Dravida. There is no Dravidian language, it is available. Not that the tradition was not available in Dravidian languages, but Shankara thought that he must write in Sanskrit. And friends, I wanted to tell you, it was a Natha who followed him. None of the Natha's writings are available in Tamil. Ramanuja follows him None of the writings are available. I'm not telling Tamil is bad or I'm not writing. It is good. But in order to make it a popular universal discourse, you must go beyond this language barrier. People must understand. Everybody must. The whole idea is to give everybody the taste of liberation. How can you keep it in such a great tradition that is available in all the alvars? Such great songs. When Professor Raghavan sings those songs and tells me the meaning, sometimes you feel like weeping. What great, like, what Upanishads have been recreated in Tamil. Upanishads have been recreated in Tamil. I will come to that. That is what Natha does. That is what Natha does. Therefore, friends, I wanted to tell you, Professor Panneselvam is there. Sankara does not go to a place which is preeminently Buddhist. Everywhere he has gone, established matters, they are all great places of Buddhist tours. Ramanuja Fellowship does not, he went to all the places where Shankara established his mata, and Ramanuja preeminently brought back the tradition of Vishnu worship in all those places. Ramanuja. No, see, this is what, but unfortunately in North India, many things have been destroyed, damaged because of the onslaught of the others. But in South we have that. But in Eastern India also we have that. Like in Puri, for example, we have a celebrated temple of Annath, which is, I feel that it was because of the inspiration and interest of Ramanuja King created a temple, massive temple like that. And a big matha that was created, first matha was created, then the temple. Unfortunately, the matha was broken recently in order to make the modernization of the temple. Anyway, that is a different thing. So it is Nathamuni who took to Sanskrit as a language of communication and logic as the means. Therefore, Nyaya, Tattvam, I'll come to that. So he did not have the need to, so the Tamil saints did not want to do this. There is no need because they enjoyed their own songs. They wrote for themselves and the people around them. There was no need. There was nothing that was, they did not feel that such a thing should go beyond this. They were in their siddhas. They remained in their own world. But Natha and Ramanuja, Desika saw beyond it. They thought that this must go all the places. Everybody must get this. So the seed that he planted, Natha, was grown into a huge tree with multifarious philosophical ramifications, as can be noticed in the philosophical activities of Sri Ramanuja. The greatest protagonists of Sri Vaishnavism, which has been meaningfully furthered till our times. I'm telling till our times, but for last, say how many years, 30, 35 years after Prativadi Vedankaram Swami passed away first, then our what is the name I told Raghavan sir? Like Uttamur Swami, then there is no writing at all. No writing of that scale. Professor Panneselvam knows we had a seminar on Saptavedanupapatti. I made people to write in Sanskrit. There was a lot of writing in Sanskrit. They are not incapable. There are scholars, but the priorities has become different. I will come to that little later. So my today's talk is given to show how historically Natha is putting the philosophical foundation of the school, which is called as Visistadvaita today. So, the whole, the one marked picture of philosophy in India, different from that of West, slightly different from the West, is that it is not a view of life, it is also a way of life. Philosophy is a darsana, with emphasis on the experiential component. The experiential component I am emphasizing, emphasis, not as absolutely abstract and vague variety, but which has been corroborated with the text and reason. Okay. So, as is well known, the Vedas have been bedrock of Indian traditions of philosophy, and they have developed in their acceptance and rejection into many schools on the basis of logic. This is one thing that I wanted to present. I always speak about this, that in some way, you cannot say that Buddha is non-Vedic. I'm not saying Buddha is Vedic. I'm telling Buddha is not non-Vedic. Because what is he doing? He's telling all these things that the Vedic Vedas are speaking is wrong. We cannot take Veda as the paradigm of things. Buddha is telling that. It's not non-Vedic. That is how I'm putting it. Thus, even though there is a textual tradition backing a tradition, unless it is developed to region and experiential appeal, it would not get a mass appeal. And such an experiment was undertaken by the great savant Sri Nathamuni, Nathamuni, in the Vedic tradition of religiosity, which came to be known as Sri Vaishnavism today. Though it has its origin in the writings of Alvars, the thinking has universal and eternal appeal as much as those of the Vedas. I'll come to that. It was Natha who attempted to provide a philosophical format to those rahasya, mystical, not mysticism. The rahasya I'm translating as mystical. Outpourings of Alvars by providing nyaya that strengthened. That is why Nyaya Tattva is the first text he is writing. Great text, I'll come to that text. The experiential domain. What is the experiential domain? Yoga. The Nyaya will be there for the yoga to come. Therefore, Nyaya Tattvam, Yoga Rahasya. Two texts. So, in order to provide wider canvas to his thoughts, make it meaningfully Indian, otherwise it will become Tamil. It will become South Indian or somewhere. Must be the pan-Indian. India means you understand India, how the large part of Asian continent is India. Provided Mahabharata, India. So, provide a test of it to all human beings. Interested in self-understanding, he presented his thought in Sanskrit, which could expand the periphery of the tradition, which he professed, and also the broaden the range of tradition by interaction. What I say, see, just accepting something as bhakti is not enough. There is a philosophy behind bhakti, logic behind bhakti, which Sri Vaishnava scholars have done so beautifully, so profoundly. Whether bhakti is greater or prakriti is greater, such a large amount of discussion has taken place in that tradition and broadened the range of tradition by interaction there. That's what I'm telling, interaction. Unless you write in Sanskrit, interaction is not possible. Unless you write in Sanskrit, acceptance beyond a particular geographical territory is not possible. And also, a rejection is not possible. Unless you reject me, I cannot show myself. Rejection is a way of, unless if I say that you are not good, you will come out beautiful. So that is what. So three things has happened in the writings of, I'm telling, Natha and Ramanuja. Acceptance, interaction, and rejection. With Natha, a new initiative was started in the Indian theistic thinking with a new flavor of logic and textual hermeneutic. Okay. So then I come to the second part of my talk today, that is a unique representative of Sanatanic Arsa Parampara, Vedic Parampara. One marked feature of Indian philosophy is that it has to have a relationship with the Vedas in their acceptance of or rejection, sometimes partially or sometimes fully. Barring unorthodox schools, I don't say it is heterodox, I don't say Nastika. They are not Astika. They are not Nastikas. They are not Astikas in the sense that Abhaidika, we can say, non-Vedic schools. The Lokayatas who condemn the Vedas completely, there are other unorthodox schools who partially accept the Vedas and Vedic tenets in their modes of philosophizing. For example, Vaisheshika. Even to some extent, Samkhya do not have to have relationship, allegiance with the Vedas for developing their philosophical superstructure. But in the course of their philosophical journey, they accept some tenets of the Vedas and are taken to be orthodox schools. There are unorthodox schools also like Buddhism, Jainism, who clearly speak against the Vedic philosophical formulations, but they nonetheless reflect the Vedic Upanishadic formulations like Vijnanavada and Sunyavada. That is another thing. And I would like to submit that before this August audience, that the Sanatana Darsana Ganga that has permeated this whole land through different tributaries, sometimes coming into the mainstream philosophization and sometimes going out of the mainstream philosophization, and hence we find the traces of Upanishads even in Buddhist and Jaina thinking, and so also Buddhist influence on the later thinking, Advaita, Ramanuja, all others. There are a lot of, the ideas that has been visible, that are visible in these things, and tradition goes on. Visistadvaita differs from Advaita on certain vital points, but there are many concepts like non-dualism where they go together. Such is the case with Madhva. What I want to say, friends, is this is Advaita, this is the Darsana Ganga. This is Darsana Ganga. The Upanishads is followed by the Buddha to some extent. Buddha is followed by Shankara. All as writing for the sake of Nirvana, Moksha, and Ramanuja follows Shankara just because a few things he tells that it is not acceptable to him. I won't say that Ramanuja is totally against Advaita. Once Vellagudi Varadaraja Swami spoke in Madras University auditorium, he told, Visistadvaita or Advaitam na. That is, I always remember that. Such a great man. This has been tried by many. This is Advaita. So, same thing happened for Madhva. He accepted many things from Shankara. He accepted Jivan Mukti. He accepts like a Veda has from Ramanuja, some amount of Aveda from Shankara also. That is a different exercise altogether. So is the case with Nimbarka, Vallabha, Chaitanya, who are inheritors of the thinking that has its roots in the Vedas and streamed out in different channels. When I talk about Visistadvaita, I bring Nathamuni and the so-called grand preceptor of Ramanuja, who laid the foundation for the message, and that message which has massive output that was actualized by Sri Ramanuja. Now, I come to my next point, which is very important, which is the foundation for Visistadvaita. Ramanuja is Sanskrit as the language of communication. The marked deviation of Natha from the tradition that he seems to have inherited was his attempt to communicate his ideas that created a new era of philosophical activity and expansion, and was that is his going back to the Vedantic Sanatanic fold and format in creating philosophy. This tradition has been coming down till date and was championed by the philosophers of the Dravida country. There must have been quite a few texts in written and oral traditions which Shankara must have come across. But in order to make it widespread, noticeable by the world of philosophy scholarship, and as a part of the claims to be eternally universal, he did not write in any other language. Would you please, okay, other than Sanskrit, Shankara, and see the tremendous outcome and interaction that has been taking place around Shankara. I always say this, Professor Panisalo, Dr. Raghavan,
One request, all of you kindly mute. Let me note 7 Pro that is open and disturbing. Kindly mute everybody excepting Mislaji. Okay, sir, you continue, sir.
Yeah. So, I'm telling you, what is the impact of writing in Sanskrit and why did Natha wrote in Sanskrit and Ramanuja wrote in Sanskrit?
Sridhar Partha Sarthi class 7 ಗಂಟೆಗೆ 90ಗೆ
No, but
Who is this?
TKP sir சொல்லி நாதமுனிகள் பத்தி ఒక సెమినార్ ను చెప్పకాదే
என்னம்மா Redmi Note 7 Pro யார் அது?
हमने मर्सी पे இப்படிதான் வேஸ்டினி
Please mute your this one. Please. Very thoughtful lecture. Let us all hear with patience. Don't interrupt, please. Okay, sir, you continue, sir.
So why, how Shankara is formulating a philosophy in Sanskrit, like not that there was no Advaita tradition before Shankara, but Shankara took to Sanskrit because it must cross the boundaries of the country that he came from. State he comes from. A regional boundary should not be there. Is there any regional boundary for Vaishnavism and any of the philosophical systems we have? It might have a proponents here, but it is a universal discourse, and universal discourse can happen only when it is given in a universal language, but language which is known to many, and that is what Shankara is doing. See the impact of Shankara. I am just telling one particular sentence about it. Shankara wrote somewhere in Kerala, and the commentary is written in Nepal by Vachaspati Mishra. For Vachaspati Mishra's commentary, Professor Srinivasan commentary is written by Appaya Dikshita in Tamil Nadu, and for Appaya Dikshita's comment, and for another commentator is from Gujarat, Anandagiri. See the way it is moving around. Why? Because it is written in Sanskrit, and this was visualized by Ramanuja. Nathamuni first, Ramanuja later on. Foundation was built by that great servant of Sri Vaishnavism. I'll come to that. I'm working on this. Yet I have not completed my construction because one lecture it is not possible to give. But I'm telling Sanskrit as the source of medium of like communication. Number one. You see, so and you know, so that is how. So that is the methodology. That is the medium. That is the way Nathamuni thought that things must be written in Sanskrit, and so hence the main purpose was to spread the slices of liberation, not out of compulsion, but out of compassion, karuna, prajna and karuna, so that people have a better and timely tips to understand the reality of their suffering in a meaningful way. Ramanuja, how he does, goes up to the hilltop and says that this is the rahasya, everybody must know.
Doesn't go on the hilltop.
Now I bring Natha, Yamuna and Ramanuja in this group of thinkers who wanted to spread the light of religiosity to one and all by opening the doors of liberation. In spite of innate differences the human person suffers from, this is the great reason to go beyond vernacularity. Second advantage in writing in Sanskrit is to portray one's open-mindedness to get the benefit of inter and intra-school deliberation. Inter and intra-school deliberation, Professor Raghavan. That opens up the possibility of better understanding and revision and modification philosophically, practically, and otherwise. There may be many profound thoughts which are locally, individually designed, preached and propagated, but in order that it should become adequate, in order that it should have adequate endurance, the communication in a language that is elite is required. By realizing this possibility, three of the main champions of Visistadvaita have written in Sanskrit and only in Sanskrit. The main idea was to salvage the great tradition of Alvars from regional touch and make it popular the way it really deserves. It is to show that just because it is written in Tamil, it is in no way inferior to eternal and universal message of the Vedas. You know, I would like to bring Natha here, who writes a dedicatory verse. Taniyan, Dr. Raghavan is a great master of Taniyans. All the Taniyans he remembers, including that of the Taniyan written by Uttamar Swami and on Uttamar Swami, ella avarge teri. So for the Tiruvai of Namalvar, he writes a Taniyam. Enna beautiful எழுதிருக்காரு பாருங்க. Bhaktamritam Vishwajananumodhanam Sarvarthadam Sri Satakopavangmayam Sahasrasakhopanisad Samagamam. Thousands of branches of Upanishads have come and confluenced here, he says.
Let me book a
என்ன இது? What nonsense?
Rama Priya. I don't know you are Rama Priya. You are please mute. Is it necessary to remind you all?
So Sahasrasakhopanisad Samagamam
Amma, Redmi and Rama Priya ரெண்டு பேரும் மியூட் பண்ணாமே இருக்கீங்க. குழந்தைகள்லாம் பேசுறதம்மா. It's disturbing everybody. Please mute.
Okay.
Rama Priya, I don't know. Rama Priya Krishnamurthy, and then the Redmi is unidentified lady. I don't know, lady or gent. Please, both of you mute.
நீங்களே பண்ணிடுங்களா?
எனக்கு பண்ண முடியாது, அதான் ப்ராப்ளம். எனக்கு பண்றவர் இன்னைக்கு இதுல இருக்கார், பெங்களூர் போயிட்டு இருக்கார். ப்ளீஸ், இல்லைன்னா நான் இங்கேருந்து பண்ண முடியல எனக்கு. சார் கண்டினியூ சார்.
So Sahasrasakhopanisad Samagamam. See, he is telling Namalvar Namamyaham Dravida Veda Sagaram. Dravida Veda Sagaram, the ocean of the Veda, Dravida Veda. To that, Bahupri Samasa. You know, Raghavan sir is a great, you know, I miss wherever I go, I miss Raghavan sir. Because Ella Uru encyclopedic person. We miss our tea from him that we took, 3 of us, and also a lot of this deliberation that we had. Now I go to Nathamuni, a philosophical biography of Nathamuni. Nathamuni is believed to be a yogi of extraordinary attainments and is by his extraordinary genius. So by his extraordinary genius, he could collect 4,000 stanzas which were nearly lost by his time. Okay, it is also believed that it was he who has set the prabandhas to music. He was a musician and introduced its recitation. He has given tunings as an integral part in the Sri Vaishnava temple worship in Dravida country. There is an anecdote about him when once he was engaged in worshipping Lord Veeranarayana. He happened to hear songs recited by a group of pilgrims. Nath was struck by the melody and meaning of the songs, of which the last verse refers to 1,000 verses sung by Satogopan of Kurugur. Since the pilgrims were not aware of other verses, Nath went to Kurugur and got the information that most of the songs were lost since the author Namalvar and his disciple Madhura Kavi passed away long ago by that time. Then, as the anecdote goes, Nath, with the help of a local scholar called Paramkusha, belonging to Madhura Kavi's family lineage, and had the vision of Namalvar. He had the right. That is where yoga comes. Yoga means drishti, aparoksha jnana. He had the aparoksha jnana of Namalvar, and as advised by Namalvar, he has the aparoksha jnana of Namalvar, and advised by him, Namalvar appeared before him and taught the entire Tiruvaimoli along with the meaning. Thus, Natha's contribution to Divya Prabandha is similar to that of Vyasa's contribution to the Vedas. If it is Vedas are available, it is because of the Vyasa's compilation. Same is Nathamuni, who compiled 4,000 verses that is available to us today. It is also believed that Natha was made the chief Acharya of Srirangam temple because of his erudition and a Sri Vaishnava by practice and predilection. It is he who took Namalvar's statue to Srirangam from Kurugur and elevated the vernacular hymns to the status of the Vedas. Okay. Tradition believes that Yamuna was the grandson of Nathamuni, which is referred to in the last verse of the Stotra Ratna of Yamuna, that he comes in the lineage of Acharyas like Natha, and therefore he deserves special consideration for him to grant great liberation. And that is what Natha says, that the Lord, you have to give special consideration of because I am the grandson of Nathamuni. Therefore, the tradition. See, one thing that is, Professor Panishalu, this is, we have not much researches have been done on Visistadvaita, and history, which is still alive, has been totally ignored by all, especially academia. You can trace even many families, the Simhasana Adhipatis are still there, those families are still there. Then it will be there for another few years. I correct Parthasarathi Swami, it will not be there for long, because we forget, and we it will all go into the selective. The perpetual amnesia will take over all these things very quickly unless it is protected, preserved. So, works of Nathamuni, I wanted to say, there is no dispute about the fact that Nathamuni is the author of two works, that is Nyaya Tattva and Yoga Rahasya. These two are perhaps the earliest writings in Sanskrit having Visistadvaitic, Visistadvaita. All that I like. My attempt is to show how most of the ideas Ramanuja has drawn from him. Philosophical tenets. We get the reference to Nyaya Tattva in the writings of Yamuna, Ramanuja, and more than these two in Vedanta Desika. Vedanta Desika is the one who is a champion, great champion of this Nathamuni. I would like to believe that three works of Desika seems to have been based on and influenced by Nyaya Tattva of Nathamuni. Dr. Anantan, I want to read Nyaya Parisuddhi as Nyaya Tattva Parisuddhi. Nyaya Siddhanjana as Nyaya Tattva Siddhanjana. And Tattva Mukta Kalapa as Nyaya Tattva Mukta Kalapa. Dr. Raghavan, this is my submission. Everywhere Nyaya Tattva is being brought by Desika. See, this is my, if you want, what is your contribution, what have you studied about Natha? This is what I have studied. This is what the three books that Desika writes are influenced by Nyaya Tattva. The words are not there, but Nyaya Parisuddhi is Nyaya Tattva Parisuddhi. Nyaya Siddhanjana is Nyaya Tattva Siddhanjana. And Tattva Mukta Kalapa is Nyaya Tattva Mukta Kalapa. This is what I feel, this is how Desika is bringing back Nathamuni. So Nyaya and Yoga, the two tools of understanding, methodologies. From the available bits and bits that we get of Nathamuni, it becomes clear that he had a broad and deep understanding of Indian philosophy of his time. Indian philosophy, as I have shown, has two strong pillars of philosophizing. One is logic and another is experiential possibility. One is theory and another is practice. This is not there in all the philosophy. Maybe in starting also Western philosophy had this. It was not bereft of it, not it was divorced from it. So taking Shruti as a presupposition, what the philosophers are doing is looking at it logically, Nyaya, and realize realizing the reality in a non-mystical way, which may be spoken as something as aparoksha jnana. You know, aparoksha jnana. Here is where the Vedas contributed in a significant way when it is stated that the reality can be realized by Sravana and Idhyasana. This is the basic. So this aspect is called this aspect is called as yoga. Nididhyasana is yoga. So where logic fails to penetrate, yoga takes over. No, everywhere logic cannot go. Somebody is loving somebody, then no logic works. How the love takes place is beyond logic. It is an experiential dimension. So the whole lot of thinking can be brought down to two segments of analysis, that is through logic, nyaya, realization, yoga. Shruti has a major role in giving content to the flesh and blood of this exercise of manana, logic, nididhyasana, realization, which is what darsana stands for in Indian tradition. And in finding out the tools of doing philosophy, Natha has harped on these two modes, namely Nyaya and Yoga, which are the basics of understanding the reality and realization of the self, Atma Jnana, which is called Darsana or Aparoksha Jnana. This is corroborated by Vedanta Desika's reference to Atma Siddhi of Yamuna as a summary of Nyaya Tattva. And Nyaya Tattva Prakaranam hi Atma Siddhi. Okay, in Nyaya Siddhanjana, Vedanta Desika writes. In Tattvamukta Kalapa, Desika reiterates this, saying that Nyaya enunciated by Natha is not Gautamiya Nyaya, but that which is in keeping with his tenets of Vedanta. Uktam Khalu Nathamuni bhi Vedantanukulam Nyaya Shastram Nyaya Tattva Vidhanena. Tattvamukta Kalapa. You know, in Nyaya Tattva Prakashika, Desika, like Desika writes, Vidyasthaneshu Dharmeshu Ganyate Nyaya Vistaraha Nata Viplavita Staihi Tatotta Shodhyate. Parishuddhi, Nyaya has to be properly understood, not as understood by Gautam or Kanada. It has to be Nyaya Parishuddhi. Such a brilliant text. You know, I wish it said that the people should work on this and bring out, you know, the implications of Nyaya Siddhi in the way Desika has taught. So this is what. So this again becomes clear when Desika says that the philosophical exercise taken up by Natha is to provide a logical foundation for Vedanta with the understanding of reality as already made by Akshapada Gautama and others. Okay, constructing the philosophy of Nathamuni. I am coming to the last part of my talk. I have taken, how much time I have, Parthasarathy Swami?
There is no limit, sir. You can, I know.
Okay,
I can.
another 10 minutes, I'll finish.
Okay, no problem, sir.
So, in getting into the polemics of the Vedantic schools, which is what has happened in the tradition of Upanishads, so many schools of Vedanta. Natha is the first one to design the concept of knowledge as to whether Brahman is knowledge per se or Brahman has knowledge. Can Brahman has knowledge or Brahman is knowledge? The question. Desika quotes Natha to show that this problem is taken up and worked out in the first verse of Nyaya Tattva itself. You know, in Rahasyatraya Sahara, this is what Professor Raghavan told. I was giving a lecture somewhere. I asked him, Yo vetti yugapat sarvam pratyakshena sadasatah swataha tam pranamya harim shastram Nyaya Tattvam prachakmahe. This is what he says. This text is referred to as Shastra by Yamuna. You know, Shastram Nyaya Tattvam, you see, in his Siddhitraya, herein Natha gives the foundational tenets of Visistadvaita philosophy that he is going to erect, and that came down to us as Visistadvaita later on. The brilliant ramification of this verse is found in the exposition of Dharma Bhuta Jnana taken up by the successors in the school, according to which Brahman has Jnana, which is not a which the jnana is a dravya, jnana gunakam atma. That is Srinivasan sir. The jnana is a dravya as well as jnana can be also a guna. So this is the dravya as believed with the Nyas. It is not a it is not a it is not a guna as believed by the Nyaya school, but it has like Dharmabhuta Jnana, and Dharmabhuta Jnana is one of the best, one of the most celebrated contributions of Visistadvaita school, that a man can expand his knowledge to such an extent that he can know many things. Many things. This is what Professor Pannisalvam, I was giving a lecture on this. The other mind. Can I know other minds? Ramanuja would say, we would be able to know other minds. How? Because of this. Because of Dharmabhuta Jnana can expand to such a level that all of a sudden I can know microbiology, molecular, like whatever, physical chemistry or atomic physics, everything I can. That is what Dharmabhuta Jnana is such a great concept. Expansion of Dharmabhuta Jnana brings about liberation. Contraction of Dharmabhuta Jnana keeps you in the bondage. That is such a great concept. That is like I have no time. So as we have seen, the concept of Jnana, knowledge is one of the important milestones of Visistadvaita Jnana as conceived both by being substance as a quality, since it is subject to change, a quality since it is capable of standing by itself, and since it is an attribute of individual selves and the supreme self. Dharmabhuta Jnana is there in everybody, like in the Jiva as well as Parama, meaning attributive Jnana. Thus, different from substantive Jnana, Dharmic Jnana and Dharmic Jnana. Finite souls and supreme self have Jnana in the latter sense. That Nathamuni subscribed to this view is learned from the following passage. Natha, I quote Natha. Tatra Dharmabhuta Jnanasya Dravyatvam Nyayatattva Atmasiddhi Bhasyadi Siddham Anusaratam Vikarotpadaka Samskaropi Tannishtah Praptaha Anantaratvat. This is what Nathamuni says. So quoted by Desika. So on the view of those I am quoting, following Nyaya Tattva, Atmasiddhi and Sri Bhashya, Desika says, they maintain that Dharmabhuta Jnana is a substance, impressions leading to remembrance, smriti, but a modification of Dharmabhuta Jnana must be said to dwell in Dharmabhuta Jnana, is a part of the Dharmabhuta Jnana only. Like apramana mulatvam tu ubhayoho nasti, he says. Okay. Vyabhichara bhavena adhigatartham pramanam iti visheshanasya ayuktatvat. See, this is what has happened much before Dharmaraja Advarendra came. He says, abhadhita anadhigatartha vishayakam jnanam prama. A jnana is that knowledge, the valid knowledge, you can say valid cognition is that which is not going to be sublated and not going to be not known so far. He says this it is not necessary that we should have anadhigatartha vishayakam jnanam. Discounting the view that anubhava has validity, which representative cognition smriti has no pramanya. He discounts this, that smriti has no pramanya. They say, therefore, anadhigata must be added into the definition. So he says, both of us alike maintain that representative cognition and representative cognition agree in not being based on invalid sources of knowledge. A lot of discussion is there. I'm not going to those details. there is no point in restricting the term pramana to that which makes known, that is hitherto unknown, anadhigata. For this qualification, anadhigata does not serve to ward off any defect that would otherwise afflict the definition. Okay. Where is the illustrative example to bear out the contention that valid knowledge cannot arise in respect of what is already familiar? Adhigatartham jnanam prama. Like, how can you say that this is wrong? The knowledge which is known is not prama. This is, there is no, so no, you cannot give an example. If you say the rope snake is a rope, even then, rope snake to some extent, in the perception of rope snake, there is a perception of rope also. That is what Ramanuja's contribution. Please remember, Parthasarathy Swami, this idea that everything yathartham sarva vijnanam iti veda vidam matam, this idea Ramanuja draws from Nathamuni. So if you adduce an example, some other kind of knowledge, we know of no such knowledge. He says that like there is no knowledge available to us which can be given, no example available to us that other than Smriti not characterized by nobility and devoid of pramanya. So anadhigatartha vishayakam jnanam prama cannot be a criteria for knowledge. Nobility, Advaitin says, like Dharmaraja Durani in his Vedanta Parivasa says this, much before him, Natha has found out this problem that is there in Sankara's formulation of Advaita Vedanta, that Brahmajnana must come as a new knowledge. He says, no, anything that you see is Brahman. See, going with and going against the current of Advaita, so-called Advaita. So in working out a definition prama, Advaitin following Bhatta Mimamsakas view that nobility is a criterion of knowledge. This is Bhatta's problematic, Bhatta Vedantin's Kumarila, which is contested by Visistadvaitins, and Natha is one of the champions of this view that led to a different definition, Vyavahara Anugunyam Jnanam Prama. So from pointing out that memory arises not only in the events of there being earlier experience, Nathamuni states that pratyaksha means not being a remote, aduratvam, new definitions. Somebody should work on these things, construct how the whole philosophy is coming down from there. No, nobody has done. From experience, a nearness, the aduratvam. So, then he says, the nearness which is the cause of also, like anubhava aduratvam, smriti nimittam, Nathamuni. So, the qualification that causes smriti is purposely included in this definition of prakasha. Otherwise, all objects which are presented to experience would have possessed illumination. That is not there. In actual fact, this is not the case. Though several objects are within focus of attention, all of them cannot be said to be manifested. I can be here, I can see. See, Parthasarathy Swami, Anantan Swami, please see. I can remember microbiology. How do I remember? Microbiology true or false? They are all true. I have another way of explaining that. That is explaining this also from Visistadvaita standpoint. I am not going into that details, but I want to say that Smriti Jnana is not Brahma. It is not wrong knowledge. And this is what is clear. Therefore, Ramanuja says, Swapna Jnana is also correct. So hence, only those objects which fall within the range of experience leading to remembrance can be said to possess prakasa. They come, and Dharmabhuta Jnana plays such a great role in these things. and explanation of avidya. I will come to a lot of work we have done on avidya in Saptavidhanupapati. Ramanuja quotes 3 verses from Nyaya Tattva in his Srivasya, and which are meant to refute the Advaiti concept of non-dual Brahman based on Maya Avidya. It is well known that Ramanuja holds the concept of avidya as untenable, and he has found out, not discovered, it was already there. Like there are 7-fold untenabilities, 7 questions to Advaitins he is asking. He is asking 7 questions. The seeds of this discussion are found in the Nathamuni, as quoted by Ramanuja, Sri Ramanuja in his Srivasya. He says, Ramanuja says, Jnana Rupam Param Brahma Tannivartya Mrisatmakam Ajnanam Chet Tiraskuryat Kah Prabhuhu Tannivartane Aham Jnanam Brahmeti Vijnanam Asti Chet Syat Prameyata Brahmanaha Ananubhutitvam Syat Ukteva Prasajyate. I translate. If ignorance which is taken to be, which is illusory and which is to be dispelled by knowledge, and that ignorance of Vidya is said to conceal the Supreme Brahman for the creation of the world, who has consciousness, like Brahman has the consciousness as its Suprakasa Brahman. Now, if Suprakasa Brahman can be concealed by Ajnana, what is the other thing that can remove this, which can dispel this Ajnana? No, nothing else is there to dispel this. Nathamuni asked this basic question, which is the foundation for Saptavidhanupam. Jnanam Brahmeti, if we argue that what dispels ignorance is knowledge, that Brahman is of the nature of knowledge, consciousness, and that Brahman and Avidya may coexist for the creation of the world, we would ask, Nathamuni says, such a knowledge being non-different from Brahman cannot dispel ignorance. If Ajnana is there all the times with the Brahman, how can that Brahman dispel ignorance? If something is there with you all the times, can A and B are all the times there? Can A dispel B? No. They're integral related, one but take away other. So if Jnana and Ajnana are together for the creation of the world, as has been propagated, propounded by Advaitin, then Jnana cannot dispel Ajnana. If it is contended that there may arise a knowledge that Brahman is of the nature of consciousness, the Brahman will be an object of knowledge, and it would follow from your own account that Brahman is not mere subjectless, objectless consciousness. Thus, we find the explanation of Avidya is there in the writings of Natha, and it was furthered by Ramanuja and post-Ramanuja scholars. There are a lot more ideas presented by Natha, which I am not going to take up today because of the paucity of time. Already I have crossed 2 minutes. So a few points which may deserve attention of the scholars are the follows, and we find these in the references given by Deshika. All knowledge, whether right and wrong, presuppose the reality of the object of knowledge. Okay. The Nyaya Tattva has a Bhrantyadhikarana. I did not have time to go into that, on error, which established the theory of error, that is Yathartha Khyati, and demolished all the Khyativadas. See, doing philosophy requires all this logic, acceptance and rejection and interaction. So, ancient epistemologists, it was the Yathartha Khyativada, that is of Nathamuni, that went a long, great way in striking at the root of the theory of cosmic illusion. Yathartham Sarva Vijnanam. Swapna is also Yathartha. Rope snake is also Yathartha. Ramanuja. Understanding, that is why, Srinivasa Ramanujam, Professor Panniselvam, this is what is written by the European scholar, the biography. He says, most of the theorems that I have understood it in my dream. Srinivasa Ramanujam writes. So dream is true for them. There are a lot, like we believe it or not, Natha says this. This is the idea, and if the whole it has not developed. The literature has the whole thing came to a close with the so-called the like our the Swamis, Uttama Swami. So the purpose of Vada or Shastric discussion, Natha gives a very different analysis of the concept of Vada. He says Vada does not mean winning or getting defeated. It is for understanding. This is what. So, and in the Pramatrupada, a section dealing with the real Pramata in Nyaya Tattva, that suggests that the existence of God can be inferred from cosmic creation, a view hotly taken up and amplified explained by Vedanta Deshika in his works. And the Nyaya Tattva also contained questions about Sambit, quotations from the first to the 8th Adhikaranas are scattered here and there in various works of Vedanta Deshika's works. From the writings of Yamuna, we can assume the greatness of his grandfather Nathamuni. In Atmasiddhi, Yamuna refers to the views of Buddhists as already been refuted by Nathamuni. See, all these things will you get in the writings of Alvars? No. Alvars are not bothered about the Buddhists. For them, the world is the world of Vishnu. But in order to expand it, give a foundation of philosophy for others to know, Natha is trying to deal with everybody. So Nathamuni was well aware of Buddhism. He says, Yamuna says that the Natha has already worked on this particular standpoints of Buddhist and he has refuted all them. And which he calls, like in his Nyaya Tattva, and he calls it is Shastra by justifying all knowledge is real. All knowledge is real. Sunya is real, Vijnana is real, all these things, all the Yathartha Khyati. What has happened is this tradition did not go further. At least, other traditions, it has, we know what is happening, like a lot of discussion, lot of interaction, lot of rejection and acceptance is taking place. In our tradition of Visistadvaita, it has almost like, it has somehow, the history stopped where it started. SMS Chari, Srinivas Chari writes, Visistadvaita initiated by Nathamuni and presented by Yamuna as further expounded by Ramanuja has a far reaching influence on other schools of Visistadvaita. This is what he says. Yes, it has. The many schools, like all the Vaishnava schools have come out of it. Why Ramanuja could not become an all India phenomenon is a thing to be debated, because Ramanuja has been read. Ramanuja has been taken, the seed of devotion, the seed of liberation, seed of Shaguna Brahma has been taken over by all bhakti schools, Nimbarka, Vallabha, and others, Bhaskara, others, all Veda Vaidins. And the more than these things, the Dasgupta says that the Dasgupta says his reading is a little limited. He says that Tengeles represent the philosophy of Alvars, whereas Vadagali stand for the tradition of Sri Vaishnava Acharyas, starting from Natha to Deshik. I don't think this is I quote this to show that this is not a correct statement, because during the time of Natha, there was no Tengali Vadagali. And this is one of the major problems where, we have thrown the bucket of water along with the baby. The philosophy has been sacrificed for the sake of all, like a minuscule, small, considerations, whether what are the way of become, and the world has become small by having Srirangam as the south and Kanchipuram as the north. We have to come out of it, and so that how the whole world is imbibed by the very spirit of Vishnu, which Ramanuja preached in his exploration of Vishwam Vishnuhum. Thank you very much. Thank you. You are not audible. Parthasarathi Swami, you are not audible. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mishra ji, for your thoughtful lecture and full of points. Now I request Raghavan, the Vadur Swami, popularly known as, and as Mr. Mishra ji calls him, I now request him to give his expert comments.
Adiyan.
Adiyan.
Lakshminatha Samarambam Namatayamanu Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. How to comment? It is highly commendable, so I cannot comment. And the comment may be criticism. No criticism possible when there is so many highlights of Nathamuni's contribution. Anyhow, I just repeat what these are quoted in the beginning. Drishte apanyutya bhavat anviti vishaye lagavasya anubhavat shastrenaiva vaseye vigati virakste nastikatta prahanat natopanyam pravrittam bahubir upachitam yamuneya prabandhaihi tratam samyak yatindraihi idam akhilatama karshanam darshanam na. That is, that sloka is enough for Nathamuni's contribution. Anyhow, the fragments of Nyaya Tattva should be studied, analyzed, carefully explained by reading the respective context in which they are quoted in the works of Vedanta Deshika, or even in Sri Bhashya, or even in the Atma Siddhi, Samvik Siddhi, or Ishvara Siddhi. I just appreciate Godabarisha Mishra's careful analysis of so many points. I may just quote the Tamil portion that is normally quoted with regard to Nathamuni. That is, என்னுயிர் தந்தளித்தவரை சரணமுக்கு யானடைவே அவர் புற்கள் நிறைவணங்கி பின்னருளால் பெரும்போதூர் வந்தவள்ள பெரிய நம்பி ஆள வந்தார் முக்கால் நம்பி நன்னெறியை அவர் குறைத்த உய்யக் கொண்டார் நாதமுனி சக்கோபன் சேனைநாதன் இன்னமுடன் திருமகள் என்று இவரை முன்னிட்டு நம்பெருமான் திருவடிகள் அணிகின்றேனே. So this is the Dhyana Sloka for Guru Parampara. I just quote the smallest Dhyana Sloka of all Acharyas, including Vedanta Deshika. Hari Sri Seniratkari Bhunata Abda Drisho Bhaje Rama Yamuna Purnarya Lakshmana Amnaya Shekharam. Of course, Nyaya Tattva has to be just constructed from the available fragments and thoroughly investigated for the sake of how it has influenced the Siddhitraya of Yamuna and how it has penetrated into the Sri Bhashya of Ramanuja. It is only investigating research scholars who can contribute much in this field. I thank Dr. Mishra for inviting me to this lecture. His lecture has been so profound for me. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you, Godavar Swami.
Thank you.
Professor Pannirselvam, ஏதாவது சொல்லுங்க.
Namaskaram, Periyar. Should I say something, Palasad sir? Can I?
Yeah, please, you have to
Please.
speak.
Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah. First of all, I am grateful to my good friend, Professor Mishra ji, for giving a wonderful lecture. It is a very thought-provoking lecture. And I always ask this question. whether Professor Mishra ji is an Advaitin or Visistadvaitin. Why? Because I have converted myself from Advaita to Visistadvaita due to Professor Raghavan. Because when I was in the university, he used to come to me quite often, and most of the time he will be in my room. I mean, to teach me something about Visistadvaita. He has made me a member of Visistadvaita Pracharini Sabha and gave a lot of books on Visistadvaita and asked me to read. In fact, that made me to show my interest in Visistadvaita, and as a result of that, I got converted to Visistadvaita.
Yeah.
And I must say that Visistadvaita, why I like Visistadvaita is that it is a practical philosophy, a philosophy which has a direct bearing on human life. So I always think that Visistadvaita tradition is not only an intellectual tradition like Advaita, but also a commonsensical tradition, which means it helps a person like a lay person like me to understand the significance of Lord Vishnu. Of course, I am grateful to Professor Mishra as well as Professor Raghavan sir for quite often enlightening me on Visistadvaita philosophy. And as Professor Mishra ji has pointed out, the significance of Visistadvaita is something remarkable, and logical nuances in the system is something remarkable. And I still remember the wonderful seminar which Professor Mishra ji has conducted in our department, Sabdavidvananbhuti, wherein we find the 7 important criticisms that has been leveled against the concept of Maya. And I still feel that, I may be wrong also, I still feel that the Advaitins have not yet fully answered this criticism. I don't know, but this is what I feel, because why I'm quoting this is that's a wonderful seminar, and I still remember the great scholar's speech on this very interesting topic, namely criticism of Maya. But one thing which struck me was when Professor Mishra ji was talking that after Uttamur Swami's this thing, there is no proper development in Visistadvaita, in the sense that no proper literature or, I mean, there is no debate among the scholars of Vaishnavism. And in fact, Professor Mishra has very rightly pointed out that in other traditions, this is not so. There is also always a argument, counter arguments, and as a result of that, a system is always, a tradition is always progressing, and this is very much essential. But unfortunately, I think that in Visistadvaita tradition, this is not taking place. This is one of the difficulties which I face when I read the literature of Vaishnavism. And also, I feel that it is the responsibility of the Vaishnavite scholars who are assembled here and those who are outside, that it is necessary for us to show how Visistadvaita could be seen from the other perspective. When I read Visistadvaita, quite often my mind connects the system with some of the Western schools like phenomenology or the hermeneutical tradition, wherein I feel Ramanuja's contribution is similar to that of the West, or the Western contribution made by some of the thinkers are quite parallel to Indian system, and this has to be properly exhibited by the Vaishnava scholars. For example, I always fond of reading Vedanta Desika, wherein we find the concept of consciousness, which has been very beautifully explained, and some of the criticism which has leveled against the Advaitic understanding of consciousness is not only interesting, but also illuminating. And I would say that it comes very close to Western tradition of phenomenology. So this has to be highlighted. Similarly, I feel in Western tradition, let me take one more minute and then stop. In Western tradition, we talk about what is called heterophenomenology. That is, heterophenomenology means suffering of the other, because that is very much, that is third person's suffering, pain, which has been properly seen by Ramanuja. This is what I feel, because this Ramanuja who wanted to uplift the common man. Uplift the common man in the sense that he wanted to liberate the last individual who is suffering in the world. So that is the reason why I always feel that system, this system, which talks about our own tradition, is something which is remarkable and which has to be properly propagated by the disciples of Vaishnavism, so that we can tell the entire world that this tradition is very rich, and this tradition, in fact, has no parallel to other systems, whether it is Indian or Western. This is what I would like to say. And then one more point I would like to state here. Long back, Professor Mishra, I think, is there.
I'm here.
There was a very great professor, Professor Srinivasa from Bangalore. He's a great Advaitic scholar, a very great original thinker. I always think he's an original thinker. And he once told me and Professor Mishra, he make a subtle statement. He said that why should I believe a religion or a tradition which says that I am different from God? All of us know that God is different from me, or I am different from them. Why should I follow that tradition? And I felt that that was an attack on, indirect attack on Vaishnavism. Later, I really liked that statement, because he wanted to support Advaita by saying that there is identity between me and God, which is something remarkable and all that. But later, I realized that there is a difference between me and the Supreme, but there are means which this system gives in order to reach that Supreme. So I felt that this approach is very much present in Visistadvaita philosophy, and it is a remarkable system, a remarkable tradition which can uplift each and every individual. That's why we always say, all of you know that Ramanuja is a great social reformer. So that is the reason why I got interest in this system. And of course, I am grateful to Professor Raghavanji for enlightening me, because always, while traveling in the train or traveling in the bus, or when we are taking coffee in the hotel, he will talk about Vaishnavism. And not only me, you will enlighten the entire group when we are traveling together in the train. Others also will listen to him. He's as Professor Mishra has said, is a walking library, walking encyclopedia. We can always learn from him, and it is always a pleasure to. He will not leave me. He will say, "Sir, read this passage," and he will quote very beautifully. And it is something remarkable to listen to Professor Raghavan, and also my good friend Professor Mishra, who are very great scholars.
Pleasure, Professor. You spend your time and came here.
I'm grateful to Professor Parthasarathi for giving me this nice opportunity of meeting all the great scholars like Anant, Jagannivas, and my good friend Professor Srinivasan sir and others. And this is a very, very fruitful dialogue which we had with Professor Mishra, and I'm very much benefited by this lecture and grateful to Professor Mishra. Thank you, sir.
Pasarji,
Thank you, sir. Very good.
just I would like to add one word I would like to add here. If permits, only one line.
Yes,
line.
sir, you please go ahead.
First of all, I would like to convey my sincere thanks and pranamas to all of my seniors. Sometimes our scripture says some things it's not even a hand. Karta Karaita Saha. There is a saying. Today, the date is 25th. You are all aware, 25th of March, isn't it? And according to our tattvas, we have the 25th tattva. After 24, 25 is Jiva tattva, and 26 is Jiva Paramatma tattva. You are aware of that? Because as rightly mentioned by you, the Apara Vedanta Deshika, Uttamur Swami has mentioned in Prabandha Raksha, in one of the Pasura's commentary, Tam Shadvimshaketyahu, Paramatman is treated as a 26th element. So we are the 25th element. So Jiva Tattva, today is the 25th day of this month. So yeah, and as mentioned by Professor Selvam, so we are trying to reach, as mentioned by scholar and all. So the rightly, whether it is हिंदी में कहते हैं जानबूझकर अगर कोई भी है इस दिन तो हुआ है 25 को हुआ है. Today is 25th because we are all coming on that is information. When you go to that is Kanchipuram, if you want to have darshan of Lord Varadaraja, we have to go by 24 steps. That is the 24 tattvas. after crossing the 24th Tattva, 25th Tattva is Jiva like us, and going to have darshan of the 26th, that is Bhagavan Varadaraja. So just I would like to add here, thank you very much for very nice and enlightening us. Thank you one and all. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Ananda sir. Thank you. Now I request Jagannivas to propose the vote of thanks. Sir, unmute voice.
Yeah. Asmad Guru Samarambam Yatishekara Madhyamam Lakshmi Vallabha Paryantam Vande Parampara. My God, I am sitting in front of the most erudite group of people whom I respect very much. People like, starting from, in my screen, I'm seeing Raghavan at the top corner. Then, of course, Manish Shelvam, Mishra ji, who gave a brilliant lecture today. Very interesting lecture. Professor Ananthan, so many other people, Parthasarathi. And so this is a very unique opportunity for me to have been sitting in this kind of a thing. And how Mishra ji took us through Nathamuni's contribution and how the whole Visistadvaita developed. They're very interesting points. I mean, I would like to take just a couple of minutes mentioning a few of them. And those are particularly he particularly mentioned, are there non-Vaishnavas? Very interesting question Mishra ji raised, because everyone is a Vaishnava. Whoever follows Vishnu, who prays to Vishnu, is a Vaishnava. There can be a question. And he also mentions about in Vishnu Sahasranamam, Vishwam Vishnu. So therefore, everything is Vishnu and everything as we all are part of it. And therefore, where can be there anything else beyond that?
Jagannivas sir,
Yeah.
even if you don't follow Vishnu, you are a Vaishnava, according to Ramanuja. That is the greatness of Ramanuja.
Right,
He
sir.
says there is no non-Vaishnava in the world. The world
Yes.
is only Vishnu. Where are non-Vaishnavas? You follow or not, that is a different thing. You may say that I am made of stone, but you are made of flesh and blood, like that. Thank you,
Sarvam
thank you.
Vishnumayam.
That's it.
Sarvam Vishnumayam. Sarvam Vishnumayam.
Yes. Vishwam Vishnu, that's all.
Vishnu Vyaptau.
And he beautifully calls Nathamuni as a celebrated scholar of Nammalvar. Because if Nammalvar and the Divya Prabandham could not have come out without Sri Nathamuni's
Please
contribution.
go ahead, Jagannivas sir.
Right, sir. So, and the Upanishads, particularly which was recreated in Tamil in the Divya Prabandham, and they are all translated back into by Nathamuni in Sanskrit language. And the emphasis of the whole Grantha of either Nathamuni or Ramanuja being in Sanskrit, and Mishra ji emphasizing that they wrote in Sanskrit, not that they did not know the Dravidian languages, but they wrote in Sanskrit because they wanted this knowledge to spread across the country. That's a very, very important point. I thought would be very important. Nyaya Tattva and the Yoga Rahasyams, which he said that. And the acceptance, interpretation, interaction, and rejection theories, which he was talking in. I always remember that in our Siddhanta, we have got Purva Paksha, then Kandana, then Uttara Paksha and Siddhanta. This is the concept how we derive our concepts. And that's how Ramanuja did it also, because in his Sri Bhashana, if you see, the way the Purva Paksha of Shankara's philosophy is elaborately discussed, and then comes the Kandana part of it slightly, and then the Uttara Paksha. Therefore, the Siddhanta comes in. So that's a very interesting point. And the language of communication for international deliberations, that's very important. You see, like Vedavyasa was very important for Veda to be re-established. Nathamuni was very important for re-establishing Alvar's theories. That's what the whole thing is. And this very important point, I think, I noted in Mishra's lecture was about Dharmabhuta Jnana. This is a concept or a contribution of Ramanuja, which is very, very essential. Otherwise, normally we differentiate jnana, knowledge, such a, I mean, it's a concept, it's a thing which you cannot describe at all. There is Swarupa Jnana and Dharmabhuta Jnana. So, the Dharmabhuta Jnana concept itself, I mean, I might be wrong if I'm saying he's the first person to describe what is called Dharmabhuta Jnana. I don't know, the professors must say whether he was the first person or was there any other thought earlier than that?
No,
before-
Natha talks about it first.
Nathamuni, yeah. Nathamuni is the whole concept which was translated under the word Dharmabhuta Jnana, I think, attributive knowledge was re-established by Ramanuja. This is what I would love to.
There are many
that.
things like that,
Yeah. So I think we are terribly benefited by this interesting lecture which we heard from Mishra ji. And so only way of telling thanks is pranam. Pranam to right from starting from T.K. Parthasarathi to everyone else who organized this whole program.
Srinivasan is not there.
Who?
Srinivasan has left, I think. Oh, Srinivasan,
Yeah.
you have nothing to say.
It is uttamam, what to say further. I am an incarnate. I have got my own take. I am an incarnate Advaitin. I have my own takes.
Like,
But before I close, sir, I would like to say one point, But for Shankara, there would not have been Hinduism would not have been established in India. We all know that. And starting from Shankara, Ramanuja, Nimbarka, Adva, then comes your Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Swaminarayana, Vallabhacharya, all of them were continuously doing it up to the 17th or the 18th century. And beyond that, there is no scripture, there is no Acharya, there is no Mata, there's nothing created after that. Like, for example, in Vaishnavism, everyone talking about everything right up to Uttamur Veeraraghavacharya and Prativada Bhayankara Nangaracharya. With that, it stops. Beyond that, there is nothing. Why is this? Why are you all so great professors sitting there? Why aren't you coming and contributing something else? Should I really request each one of you, Panir Chelvam, Mishraji, Viveka, V.K.S. and Raghavan, all of you, some great scholars, people with fund of knowledge, you're all encyclopedias, moving encyclopedias. Anantan, why are there no contributions from each one of you, sir? This would be, helping all of us to understand things much better. With that, I think, with that request, I thank everyone and particularly Parthasarathi to have organized this and Mishra ji to have delivered a wonderful lecture. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, one and all. We will officially close the session. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Until